Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm bringing you a special video about the story of Ly Hoai Ca and Hùng. A journey filled with emotion, surprises, and moments so touching that anyone listening would fall silent. In today's episode, we will follow every detail to understand how Hoai Ca won the lottery. And more importantly, how she chose to use that money. A decision that not only changed her own life, but also deeply touched the hearts of many people around her. So, what exactly did Hoai Ca do? How did she share her unexpected fortune? And why did that money become such a major turning point in her life? Let's dive into today's video and discover everything together. That morning, after a night of rain, the sky slowly brightened. The first rays of sunlight, still damp with mist, slipped through the leaves and lit up the small path leading to the market. Hoai Ca carried a pair of baskets filled with fresh vegetables across her shoulders, walking with the calm, familiar rhythm of another peaceful dawn. The morning market was livelier than usual. Voices calling out prices, bargaining, and the rumble of passing vehicles blended into a soundtrack that felt ordinary, yet deeply comforting. Amid the bustling crowd, Hoai Ca slowed her steps when she noticed a little girl standing alone by an electric pole. Her clothes were worn and dusty, her hair tangled and damp with morning dew. Her tiny hands trembled as she held out a stack of crumpled lottery tickets. Her voice was soft, almost fearful of being scolded. "Miss, could you please buy one ticket?" Just that single sentence made Hoai Ca's heart tighten. Without a moment of hesitation or calculation, she took a ticket from the girl and reached into her wallet to pay. Before walking away, she opened her bag, pulled out a small packet of biscuits, and placed it gently into the child's hands. "Eat this, sweetheart. It's still cold. Keep yourself warm." The little girl looked up, her eyes shimmering with gratitude. She didn't say anything more, just bowed deeply. And somehow, that simple gesture made Hoai Ca pause for a few seconds, her heart suddenly heavier than before. That night, when the bamboo trees in front of the house were still holding a few drops of rain, Hoai Ca sat on the front porch, slowly sorting through the last bundles of vegetables. The warm yellow light hanging from the roof shone down on her suntanned hands, revealing the thin calluses that years of hard work had carved into her skin. The cool post-rain breeze carried the scent of damp earth and the faint fragrance of fresh greens. Everything felt peaceful, quiet, so peaceful she could hear the soft chirping of insects hidden in the night grass. Hoai Ca bent down to gather the final handful of greens when suddenly, thin tick, thin tick. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed from the entrance of the alley, growing louder with each second. Before she could even look up, she heard a breathless, familiar little voice. "Miss, miss." The little lottery girl from that morning emerged under the porch light, still in the same old clothes, still with messy hair, but her eyes were shining with an excitement she couldn't hide. She practically collapsed at Hoai Ca's knees, panting hard, gripping a crumpled piece of paper. Her voice trembled with overwhelming joy. "Miss, you won. The ticket, the one you bought this morning, it won big." For a moment, Hoai Ca froze, unable to process the words. She lifted her head slowly, eyes widening in confusion. "I won what? What are you talking about, sweetheart?" She tried to recall the moment, but the memory of the ticket was faint, just a blur. She had bought it only to help the child, shoved it into her pocket, never even looked at the numbers, never thought about it again. Seeing her bewilderment, the girl quickly grabbed her hand. "I remembered the number. I kept one ticket just to check for you. Come with me, I'll show you." Before Hoai Ca could fully understand what was happening, the two of them were already hurrying toward the main road, stepping into the bright white lights of late-night stalls. Her heartbeat pounded so violently it felt like it might burst from her chest. At the checking booth, a middle-aged man took the ticket from the girl. He glanced at the numbers, then at the results board, then back at the ticket, longer this time. Finally, he looked up and said firmly, "It won. This is a big prize." And in that instant, Hoai Ca turned to stone. She no longer heard the traffic on the street. No voices, no market noise, nothing. Only the sound of her own heartbeat, loud and suffocating. Her throat tightened, her knees weakened. This wasn't a dream. She hadn't misheard. Everything was real. Hoai Ca, the humble vegetable seller who worked from dawn to night, had won the lottery. Days later, after completing all the procedures, signing documents, and meeting with the issuing office, she finally held in her hands an amount of money she had never dared to imagine. After taxes, she received 1.8 billion VND. Seeing that number in front of her, she stood still, her chest tightening with a rush of emotions: shock, gratitude, disbelief, and a trembling sense of awe. A great blessing had come to a woman who had never once asked for anything for herself. No shopping, no splurging, no letting herself fall into the temptations that most people might think of first. Hoai Ca, with simplicity woven into her very nature, knew exactly what she needed to do. The moment she held the money in her hands, the first place she went was to visit Hung's mother. The elderly woman had once cried until her eyes were swollen, fearing she would lose the old family house she had lived in her entire life. Years ago, she had taken a large loan from man to reclaim that house, a debt that weighed on her heart every single day. Hoai Ca placed an envelope on the table, her voice soft yet steady. "Mom, here is 200 million. Please pay off your debt to man. You don't need to worry anymore." Hung's mother froze. Her old eyes brimmed with tears, her trembling hands resting over Hoai Ca's. She couldn't say anything, only sobbed quietly, overwhelmed. To her, this wasn't just money. It was freedom from years of suffocating fear. After that, Hoai Ca returned to her own tiny home. The house had long fallen into disrepair, moldy wooden walls, a roof cracked and leaking. She didn't waste money. She used just a portion to repair the place. New roofing, reinforced walls, new doors, and a fresh layer of tiles. After years of enduring storms and rain, the little house finally breathed again, bright, sturdy, and alive. But what made Hoai Ca happiest was using part of the money to upgrade her vegetable garden. She built new shade structures, bought organic fertilizer, improved the soil, and expanded the growing area. Not to become rich, but to make life less harsh, to ensure her vegetables grew cleaner, fresher, and could sell for better prices. She wanted that unexpected blessing to create long-term value, not appear once and disappear forever. Lastly, Hoai Ca prepared a special amount for Mother Ha, her foster mother, the woman who had taken her in during her most lost and fragile days. Thanks to Mother Ha's love, she once again had a place to call home, an embrace to lean on when the whole world felt cold. She placed the envelope into Mother Ha's hands. "Mom, please keep this so you can live comfortably in your old age. Everything I have today is because of you." Mother Ha looked at her, eyes warm and full. No words were needed. Just a tight, quiet handhold, enough to express all the love and gratitude between them. What moved the entire market to tears? What made people pause whatever they were doing as their throats tightened? Was what Hoai Ca chose to do next. From the money she had just received, she didn't think of herself. She didn't think of shopping, comfort, or indulgence. Instead, Hoai Ca set aside a large amount to help the little lottery girl and her mother. People who, just that morning, probably couldn't even imagine that life might offer them a turning point. The first time Hoai Ca visited the place where the two lived, she stopped dead in her tracks. For a few seconds, she just stood there, frozen, her heart sinking as if it had skipped a beat. Right beside a small canal was a rickety shack, so fragile that even from afar it radiated coldness. Rotten wooden planks were pieced together to form the walls, with wide gaps where the wind blew straight through. The rusty tin roof was full of holes. Even a light rain would send water splashing in from every direction. In one corner lay a torn mattress pushed against the wall, likely where the mother and child slept each night. Seeing that, Hoai Ca felt her eyes sting. She thought of the bitter cold of rainy nights, of the little girl's morning gaze. A gaze too familiar with hardship, with the streets, with survival. And in that moment, Hoai Ca knew she had to do something, immediately. Without hesitating, without calculating. She decided to buy a small house for them. Not luxurious, just clean, windproof, with solid walls and a proper roof. A place where the child could sleep without worrying about cold drafts or raindrops falling onto her face at night. The day she handed them the key, the girl's mother burst into tears. She sank to her knees, her hands trembling, tears running down her face as she tried to speak her grateful words. The little girl stood beside her, gripping Hoai Ca's hand tightly, as if afraid she might disappear, her eyes shining with both joy and disbelief. The eyes of a child who had just been handed hope. But Hoai Ca understood deeply. A house was only the beginning. What mattered more was the child's future. So she used another portion of the money to get the girl back into school. She went to the school to complete enrollment, paid all necessary fees, and bought new clothes, a backpack, notebooks, and pens. All the simple things every child deserves. No more days standing in the burning sun or cold rain, holding out crumpled lottery tickets, hoping someone might pity her. No more evenings selling in fear and hunger, wondering if there would be food the next day. No more nights listening to her mother's exhausted sighs, unsure how tomorrow would be managed. Now, the girl had school bells, blank pages, new lessons, and dreams her childhood finally had room to hold. On the morning she took the girl to school, Hoai Ca knelt to meet her eyes, placing her warm hands on the child's shoulders. Her voice was soft but unwavering. "You must go to school, okay? So your future can be brighter. Just study, don't worry about anything else. I believe in you." The girl nodded gently, her eyes red but filled with joy. A joy she had long forgotten how to feel. The story spread quickly throughout the market. Vendors and customers alike found themselves emotional as they heard it. No one talked about how much Hoai Ca had won. No one wondered how much she had left. They only mentioned one thing: how Hoai Ca chose to treat the blessing that life had given her. Quietly, warmly, and beautifully, just like the heart she had always carried. After taking care of Hung's mother, repairing her home, improving her vegetable garden, and helping the little lottery girl and her mother, Hoai Ca returned to sit inside the newly renovated house. In that quiet moment, she sat alone at a small wooden table, gently turning a warm cup of tea between her hands. Around her, the humble house now glowed with a freshness it hadn't had in years. The new roof no longer leaked, the walls were cleanly repaired, and the backyard garden was beginning to show the promise of a greener, healthier future. In that peaceful space, Hoai Ca quietly thought about the money that remained. She felt no excitement, no rush, no temptation to dream of luxurious things. Instead, her gaze softened, calm, steady, as if she had always known exactly what she would do. She understood one thing clearly: life is not just about today. There are long, uncertain days ahead. And in those days, Tony, her son, was her entire world. Hoai Ca divided the last portion of her money into two parts, firmly and responsibly. The first part, for Tony's medical care. Tony was still young, but weaker than most children his age. The nights he burned up with fever, his lips turning pale. the times he wheezed for air and collapsed in her arms. Each memory was like a blade slicing through Hoai Ca's heart. She had once carried him through a stormy night, running desperately toward the clinic in fear of losing him. She had stood outside the emergency room, hands trembling uncontrollably, terrified that every minute could take him away. Those fears had followed her for years. Now, when life had suddenly given her this miracle, the first thought she had was of him. No matter what happens, I must have money to take care of my child. I can't let him suffer anymore. This reserved amount wasn't for her peace of mind. It was a shield, a lifeline, a protective charm. So Tony could have proper treatment, good medicine, real checkups. So sickness would no longer be the monster that haunted their little family. The second part, a small fund for children in hardship. The moment she saw the lottery girl trembling as she held out that crumpled ticket, something carved itself deeply into Hoai Ca's heart. She understood what poor children carried within them, the need to survive outweighing the luxury of dreaming. So she created a small fund, not anything grand or public, just enough to help children pay school fees, buy notebooks and supplies, have the chance to stand in a classroom like everyone else. Hoai Ca didn't need recognition. She didn't need her name on anything. She simply did it quietly, just like everything she had always done. And when she told Hung went silent. For a moment so long it felt like the whole afternoon had paused. He looked at her simple gestures, her gentle voice, and something warm surged through his chest. He didn't know how to put the feeling into words. At last, he stepped closer and held her hand firmly. His hand was warm, slightly trembling, as if he were holding the most precious thing in his life. His voice dropped low, rough, deeply sincere. You're the miracle of my life. Money, it will run out. But your heart, that's priceless. Hoai Ca lowered her gaze, her lashes trembling, her eyes slightly red with emotion. Hung looked at her with a tenderness so deep it felt like it carried 1,000 unspoken words. The greatest blessing of his life was not fortune, but finding her. The story of Hoai Ca spread like a warm breeze through the small market. From the vegetable stalls at the entrance, to the noisy rows of fish vendors, and even the wandering street sellers who worked from dawn to dusk. Everyone whispered about the humble girl who had quietly done something extraordinary. At first, people only knew that Hoai Ca had won the lottery. But soon, what made them pause, listen, and feel their hearts tighten was not the 1.8 billion VND she received, but how she used it. No fuss, no showing off, no rushing to spend or indulge. Hoai Ca helped others with a sincerity that was rare to find, paying off the old debt that burdened Hung's mother, lifting the lottery girl and her mother out of hardship, repairing her home, tending her garden, creating a fund for poor children. Everything she did was gentle, quiet, yet deeply touching. In the stories exchanged among the vendors, people eventually forgot how much money she had actually won. But they remembered every single thing she had done. And without anyone agreeing to it, the market gave her a new nickname. One filled with affection. The lottery winner with the kindest heart. It was more than a compliment. It was a gift. A recognition born from the hearts of hardworking people. It spread even faster than the news of her big win. Because in a chaotic world, everyone longs for a beautiful story. A spark of kindness to remind them that goodness still exists. That evening, the sky was painted with golden sunset light. The last rays of the day slipped through the bamboo leaves and fell softly across the yard in front of Hoai Ca's house, wrapping everything in a warm, peaceful glow. Hoai Ca stood next to Hung, gently placing her hand on Tony's shoulder. The little boy leaned against her, his bright eyes reflecting the colors of the dusk. A soft breeze played with her hair. And her smile was so gentle that it seemed to make the sunset even more beautiful. In that serene moment, Hoai Ca realized something she had never put into words. The most precious thing in life is not money. It is the belief that kindness can make entire lives blossom. She didn't see herself as extraordinary. She simply followed what her heart whispered. Yet her quiet goodness moved and inspired everyone around her. People looked at her and found hope. Hope that in this difficult life, there are still those who choose to plant seeds of love. And now that life was slowly settling back into order, with the house glowing warmly again, the garden greener than before, and Tony's smile brighter each day, a new question began to stir in the hearts of many. What journey will Hoai Ca and Hùng take next to treat Tony's illness? Will they find a better method? Will luck continue to stay with this little family? And what about the small charity fund Hoai Ca created? How many children will it help? How many young lives will be changed by her gentle kindness? No one knows yet, but everyone believes. Hoai Ca's story is far from over. It is still long, still beautiful, still full of light. Stay tuned for the next episode to see what new journey awaits Hoai Ca, Hùng, and little Tony. And don't forget to leave a comment to support the story and give me more motivation to make new videos for you all.
Rau thì đắt quá, do đợt vừa rồi ngập lụt nên là mấy khu vực này trồng rau chủ yếu là mấy khu vực bằng, ví dụ như ở chỗ mình này, Đắk Lắk, Đắk Nông, Lâm Đồng này, với lại mấy khu vực miền Trung. Do ngập lụt nhiều chung là rau chết nhiều nên là giá rau lên rất cao. Mấy bữa nay mình chỉ có nhặt rau ở trong vườn để ăn thôi chứ không có đi mua nhiều. Cảm ơn mọi người.